Hello, Art 1-2. This is part 1 for the 2-point perspective house. What you will need is one of your larger 12 by 18 papers. In your portfolio of papers, there was a strip of poster board. You will need that. You will need your ruler, your pink eraser, and a pencil to draw with. So we're going to start with our borders. And you're going to use the ruler like we've been using all the other times and lightly draw your border all the way around your paper because this is our final draft. So even though you're learning to draw, we're going to be as neat as possible and make sure we take care of the paper. So if you have not washed your hands today, you might want to wash your hands so you're not getting dirtiness all over your paper. And from now on, when you're touching your paper, you're going to try to just touch it in the border. So we're trying to leave the paper fingerprint free. At the end, we will be shading a little bit, and the shading makes all of your fingerprints show. So we're really going to try to just touch the border. Okay, so then we're going to go horizontal. It's longer than it is wide. We want your nomenclature. First name, last name, and period. Okay. So you're going to pause and do the step that I did, and you're going to work through the videos at your own pace. So I'm going to go fairly quickly, but you can always pause and catch up. All right, so with your longer strip of poster board, I'm going to line up one edge on the very edge of my paper, and we want about halfway in the inside space inside the border. Okay, I'd say that looks about halfway, so I'm judging here and I'm judging here. It looks about the same. All the way. Oh. Reline that up. Okay, so that is our horizon line. With 2-point perspective, you always still start with the horizon line. It's true all the time. It's the horizon line or the eye level of the artist. We're going to put 2 vanishing points. So we're going to put one on the very edge of the paper, vanishing 1, VP1, and another vanishing point on the other end of the paper, VP2, or we have left and right. So if you can't remember what's left or right, you might want to label it. Okay, so we are going to draw a 2-point perspective house, and I looked up some images online. I kind of combined them all together. So I have like various images of 2-point perspective. We're combining together. So in 1-point perspective, we started with a shape, the shape of the box or the shape of a letter. In 2-point perspective and beyond, whether it's 3, 5, 7, 9, 17 point, you always start with a corner. So I'm going to use my plastic ruler, and somewhat in the middle of the paper, I'm going to draw a corner that goes above my horizon line and below. So I'm making sure that my ruler is lined up at the bottom or the top of my paper. I'm double checking my spacing between the edge of the ruler and the edge of my paper. Does it look even, or is it slightly slanted? So make sure you're lining up the bottom edge of the ruler with the paper or the top edge, one of the edges, and you're double checking your spacing. Okay, so I'm gonna go like 2 inches above and maybe 2 inches below, or you can make a judgment where you have some above, some below. So this is going to become a corner. All right, so anything on the right-hand side of the corner is going to go to the right vanishing point, and anything to the left is going to go to the left vanishing point. So we're going to be doing a lot of erasing. As you're tracing your ruler, you're going to hold your pencil in the middle, or you can hold it at the end. You do want your lines to be fairly light. Mine are darker so that you can see them really well. Okay, so the bottom of that corner is going to line up with my right vanishing point on the right-hand side. And so I'm double checking. Is the top of my corner lined up here? Yes. Is it lined up with my vanishing point? Yes. Is it on the same side of the ruler? Yes. Okay. So both sides, top and bottom, on the right hand side of the corner, so this is our original corner, are going to line up with the right vanishing point. Anything on the left hand side of the corner will go to the left vanishing point, or VP number 1. So I'm double checking. Okay. So now we're going to do some cutoffs. So we learned about parallel cutoffs with cutting off the boxes and the shapes. The same concept is true for 2-point perspective. So I'm going to maybe measure out like 2 or 3 inches maybe off to the side on the right, or you can just judge with the spacing. I'm lining up my ruler at the bottom of my paper, and I am double checking my spacing here and my spacing here. So this is a little bit of a warped view, but for me it looks vertical. So I had a vertical corner that I started out with, and I want to cut it off with a vertical corner. We're going to build some extra structures over here, but on the left side, we're going to cut off vertically, maybe a little bit further out. So one side looks longer than the other, so the left side's a little bit longer. And then I like to clean up as I go. So after we've cut off our structures, we have these extra lines of convergence that we use to align with the vanishing points. We're going to erase that. So again, remember, you're trying to just touch the edges of your paper. I clean as I go because it gets really confusing what lines you're working with after a while. So clean as you go, clean as you go. And if you can still see your lines, that means you're drawing too heavy and dark and you need to lighten up your pressure. Okay. All right, this next piece, we're going to make a little indentation, and then we're going to build another structure over here. That's the single level, I guess you could say. Okay, so I'm going to come a little bit shorter down from this corner. And I'm going to go, I came down a little bit, and I'm going to come up a little bit. And then I'm going to draw another corner where I'm cutting it off. Maybe like that. So we only want a little piece, maybe like an inch if you're actually measuring. Okay. So now I have my extra lines of convergence I can get rid of. So now I'm going to make it look like I have another structure that's like cornered, like coming out of this part. So I'm going to use the opposite vanishing point to make this little corner come out. So I'm going to use my longer strip, and I'm going to line up with this little part right here to my left vanishing point. Okay, so I'm looking at my vanishing points on top. I'm lining up with this little point of the structure I just added. And it doesn't have to be really big. And now I'm going to go in the top part, like that little corner up top, line up with the left vanishing point, because we're making essentially like the left-hand side of a corner. Okay. Then I'm going to use my ruler, and I'm going to cut it off vertically. So I'm making sure my ruler's lined up at the bottom. I'm cutting it off. Kind of erasing lines I don't need. Okay. All right, so this is going to be a whole nother structure. It's actually going to end up being the garage. So I have a corner here. Now I'm going to line up those two sides. So this is the left-hand side of this corner, and that went to the left vanishing point. Now I'm doing the right-hand side, which is going to line up with the right vanishing point. And we don't have to go all the way because we know we're going to cut it off. So I'm going just like part of the way and stopping so I have less to erase. Okay. And I'm going to cut it off vertically, probably about here or so. I want some space in case you want to personalize your drawing later. Erase extra lines of convergence. Okay, so now this is going to be a 2-story structure. Actually, maybe 3-story. We'll see how far we get. But I want like a piece to be popping out here because we're going to have like a balcony and all kinds of kind of interesting stuff happening. So I'm going to start always with a corner. So the corner is the first thing you start with every single time because you have to have the corner to line up with your vanishing points. So I'm going to use my ruler and I'm going to offset it to the left of this first corner, the original corner we drew. And I'm going to go from about the horizon line up. So I'm going to make it a little bit taller than this one. Just a little bit taller. And we're going to treat this like it's its own structure. So we're going to line up the left side with the left vanishing point. And we're going to go past the original building a little bit. So top and bottom on the left side to the left vanishing point. Okay. Now the right hand side, we're going to continue. Okay, this one would line up because it's on the horizon line, so I don't necessarily need to draw anything. But I am going to make it slightly darker to tell myself I'm keeping this line. Okay, then the top corner, this one, I'm going to line up with the right vanishing point. And I'm going to stop where I hit the edge of the original building. Now we're going to cut off on the left-hand side, and we're going to cut off past where we cut off this original structure. So I'm lining up my ruler with the bottom edge of my paper. I'm checking my spacing here and here. I'm also checking it here and here. Does it look the same? Okay. I'm going to come out just a little bit. We're going to cut off. Okay. So we have some cleaning up to do on this one. So erasing extra lines of convergence, although I'm going to leave the horizon line until the very end. I'm going to erase what I don't need in the inside of that structure now. So yes, there is a lot of erasing. Be careful with your paper. Try to hold it flat on the edges. All right, now we're gonna add some roof lines. So we're gonna do this one over here first. We want like more flat, kind of modern looking roofs, similar to what Frank Lloyd Wright used. So I'm lining up my ruler with the bottom edge of my paper. I'm going to the right of this corner, just a little bit. And I'm gonna do a little floating corner up top. So that little corner is vertical. So just like anything else that aligns with a corner, anything to the right goes to the right vanishing point. And to the left goes to the left vanishing point, and my ruler is a little bit too short. So I'm gonna switch and use that big piece of poster board, the strip of poster board we have. So I'm lining up the left-hand side of the corner to all the way to the left vanishing point. So that little piece to the left vanishing point. But I'm going to stop when I hit the building, because you'll probably hit itself. Okay, so that cuts it off on its own. Over here, we're going to do a vertical little cutoff. Maybe like here. And then we want the other piece to look like it's going back behind the building. So this side used the left vanishing point. So the opposite side would use the same vanishing point because it's parallel in reality. So I'm going to line up this little point to the left vanishing point, and I'm going to stop when I hit the building. And if you don't hit the building, if it goes all the way here, you might have to move this little piece out a little bit. Okay, so then I'm going to erase lines of convergence. All right, we're going to do the other roof in part 2. So you've now completed part 1, you're moving on to part 2.